Good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and today in this session of newspaper analysis by Drishti IAS, we will be discussing about Indian Express newspaper, and in this session we will be taking all these news articles. So as always we'll start with the first page of the newspaper and then we'll go through the other articles like why Egypt not taking Gaza refugees, okay, safety test for Gaganyaan, new import management system, and then we'll go through some editorials and we'll discuss some miscellaneous news. Okay, so before we start the session, you can share the link of the session with your friends and other fellow aspirants. Okay, so let's start with the today's session, that is Indian Express of today, and this is your front page. There is not much for us to discuss, but you can see here this is in call with the Abbas, PM condoles Gaza hospital death, reiterates India's strength. Okay, we'll talk about this and then we'll talk about this particular import management system which has been proposed by the center now. Okay, we'll talk about that also in detail. So when we are talking about this Gaza's India reiterates stands. So in this case I have told you many times that India has particular support for Palestinian people, their cause, but they are saying that we are against this terror attack by Hamas. Okay, so India has reiterated their stand now. They are with Israel on this front, and then they are talking about humanitarian assistance to Palestinians. Okay, we are saying that we have support, we are feeling for the cause of the Palestinians, but because of this particular war-like situation which has been caused by Hamas attack on Israel, which we condone or we condemned it to fullest. So now we are proposing some humanitarian assistance for Palestinians. Right now we are doing that only, and other than that, if we are talking about in the long term, we are still with the Palestinians in their pursuit of sovereign state. Okay, so this was the stand which was again reiterated by our side of the diplomats, etc. Okay, again then next is why Egypt, Jordan are unwilling to take refugees from Gaza. Okay, so when we are talking about the neighboring state, okay, in the war like situation there are chances that the person who are suffering from the war or the state which is suffering from the war, people from that state will go to the neighboring state for refuge. Okay, so when we are talking about this Gaza Strip, okay, here you can see this is Gaza Strip. So this side is your Mediterranean Sea, nowhere to go, and after that this side, this is Egyptian Sinai Peninsula. Okay, and then if you are talking about the east side, there is this country named Jordan. This is the West Bank from where Palestinian people can go to Jordan for refuge. Okay, so now the thing is these two countries, Egypt and Jordan, are now saying that we are not taking refugees this time. Okay, there were incidents, historical incidents, when there was a war in 1948 and then 1967. There was huge level of migrations from this Palestinian area to the Jordan and Egypt. Okay, but this time these two countries are not taking refugees. What are the reason? We will be discussing it in this particular article. So here when we are talking about the Israel's location, you can see here that it is bordered by Mediterranean on the west, and then here is Jordan in the east. If you are talking about northeast, there is Syria, and this is the portion Golan Heights which has been occupied by Israel from Syria. Okay, in 1967's war. And then when we are talking about this side, southwest, it is Egypt and Sinai Peninsula of the Egypt. Okay, this particular peninsula was also occupied by Israel in 1967 war, but then in 1973, after 1973 war, there was this USA brokered deal in which they have returned this Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. Okay, so let's see about the refugee issue. So here there is historical displacement of Palestinian has been a major issue. Okay, with the Nakba. Nakba is the first, you can say, when the first time in 1948 huge level of migration happened. Okay, that was called Nakba. Okay, so with that starts the issue of migration to the Egypt and the Jordan area. Okay, in 1948 war and then further in 1967 war, there were many refugees which migrated from Gaza Strips, or you can say West Bank, to Egypt and Jordan respectively. Okay, Egypt and Jordan are refusing to take Palestinians refugee from Gaza this time. Okay, what are the concerns? We'll talk about that. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi expressed concern that Israel's actions are intended to push Gaza's civilian population into Egypt, which could threaten the regional peace. So basically they are saying that this war effort which are going on right now in the Gaza Strip area, the military action which is started by Israel after the attack of Hamas, they are saying that they are continuing this war efforts because they want to make these migrants permanently shift to the Egyptian part, okay, so that the demand of Palestinian state can suppress, okay. So that is what the Egyptian president is telling about the Israel's plan, but if it is true or not, we don't know, okay. So they are saying that Israel is taking these actions to permanently push the population to the Sinai Peninsula, okay. Jordan's king Abdullah II has the same message. They are also saying the same thing, that they are pushing the Palestinian people to Jordan side because they want to shift them permanently to the that Jordan side of the area, okay. So that is one concern, okay. After that, there is fear that Israel aims to permanently expel Palestinian and nullify their demand of statehood, okay. We have discussed it. Lack of clear scenario of the current war. We don't know what will happen in this particular war, when will it end. So if they take the refugees, so how much time they have to support them, those refugees. So that is why they are kind of skeptical in this regard this time, okay. So, and the potential for demographic changes that could undermine Palestinian statehood. I have told you about this. If they permanently shift to the Egypt and the Jordan area, so since they are not living in that area anymore, they won't be able to do an call for their statehood or separate sovereign state of Palestine, okay. Then Egypt is worried that Gaza exodus could lead to the presence of Palestinian militant in the Sinai Peninsula. Egypt is saying that once we let them in the Sinai Peninsula, which means that Hama rebels are now present in the Sinai Peninsula. And recently you must have known that there has been some you can say progress in the positive direction when we are talking about the Arabian countries and the Israel. So Egyptians are saying that if we let them in, there are problem of the conflict between Israel and Egypt, because these militants will operate from Sinai Peninsula. So it will put Egypt on the risk also. Other than that, there was also this security concern of Egypt, that earlier in the Sinai Peninsula there was a strong hold of Islamic states, okay, the terrorism sponsored by the Islamic states. So because of which they are kind of skeptical that we will not allow any kind of militants in this particular area. It will cause security concern for ourselves as well, okay. So these are the concerns because of which this time Egypt and Jordan are not letting the refugees from Gaza Strip to their particular sovereign areas or territories, okay. So this was about the this refugee issue. Here you can say this is Egypt and this is Jordan, and they are the only countries to which these Palestinian rebels or the Palestinian population can look up to. We have also talked about this particular opening which is on the Egypt and the Gaza Strip border, okay. So you must know that. You can comment that in the comment box, which place was that which has the only opening here somewhere between Gaza Strips and the Egypt territory, okay. Moving ahead. So safety test for Gaganyaan, okay. Hold on. Okay, safety test for Gaganyaan. You know that India is doing really well when we are talking about space field, okay, and when we are talking about technology etc., we are doing really fine now. Recently you must know that there is 2 successful missions, Chandrayaan 3 and then Aditya L1 mission. So they are performing well. We are hoping to do more in this area, and now we have this Gaganyaan project, which is kind of our effort to launch our astronauts in the space, okay. So that is one mission. Because of that particular ambition, we are performing certain kind of test to ensure safety and all other parameters, okay. So one test right now which has been done is the flight test for vehicle abort mission. In case of any kind of emergency etc., how can you abort the mission and safely land the astronauts which are inside the spaceship, okay. we'll talk about that. So we have done this test. ISRO is preparing for Gaganyaan, aiming to launch India's astronaut into space potentially by 2025. Gaganyaan project has budget of approximately 9,000 crore. When we are talking about Chandrayaan etc., Chandrayaan 3, it was sent to the moon in 600 crore. Okay, that was kind of very you can say very less amount of money when we are talking to send a particular satellite to moon and the lander to moon. Okay, now when we are talking about Gaganyaan, our budget is 9,000 crore for this particular space mission. Then the flight test vehicle about mission 1, which is also called TVD1, will be conducted to test the crew escape system. So when we are talking about this particular test, we are doing it for the safety of the crew and crew escape system, that in case of emergency, how will the crew will escape from that particular spaceship. Okay, a critical safety mechanism for Gaganyaan. Okay, so what is the details of this? We'll see. So flight test vehicle about mission TVD1, the test will involve a rocket reaching an altitude of around 17 km. Okay, so before triggering the abort mission or the sign for the abort signal, we will send it to the altitude of 17 km, and once that signal is given, it will separate from the launch vehicle. Okay, separate the crew module, which will descend using the parachute into the Bay of Bengal. Once it is separated, the crew module will use a parachute to land into this particular Bay of Bengal. Okay, because landing on a surface of water will be easy because it will not have any kind of impact. Okay, or if at all it has any kind of impact, it will be very less. Okay, then this particular mission, TVD1 mission, will demonstrate the test vehicle and a basic version of crew module to test the escape mechanism in case of mid-flight emergency. If there is in the case of flight, if there is any kind of emergency, this particular test is to see our capabilities to respond to that particular emergency. Okay, ISRO has developed a low-cost test vehicle to conduct this test. We have developed another vehicle for this particular test because when we are talking about the existing vehicles like GSLV Mark III, these vehicles are kind of costly. It will have a huge cost. So it is not you can say logically correct to use so much on a test. Okay, so that is why we have developed a low cost test vehicle for this particular test. Okay, the organization has completed human ratings for the LVM-3 rocket. We have tested the rocket and then conducted test for the components like solid rocket boosters, okay, and then liquid propellant engines. These are for the launch vehicles. We have successfully tested these two technologies for now. Several test and unmanned missions are planned before Gaganyaan mission. So before we send this crew mission to the space, we have some other tests and the unmanned missions to make sure that there is no there is no scope of any kind of emergency like situations or any exigency while we are launching the Gaganyaan mission. Okay, 4 astronauts from the Indian Air Force have undergone training in Russia. That was in news like some 1.5 years ago, that 4 astronauts of India taking training in Russia because Russia has the technology. So we have taken the training and some will further undergo training in ahead. We will see in before the final mission. Okay, so this is about the Gaganyaan test for the test vehicle, which we will be seeing in some days now. Okay, here you can see the mechanism. This is the test vehicle. Okay, so it will perform a lift off from our surface, and then at the altitude of around 17 km there will be a abort signal, and because of that the crew module, see here, this is the crew module. Okay, this crew module will separate. This is the launch vehicle, and it will separate, and from here this crew module will separate and start descending using a parachute to the Bay of Bengal somewhere here. Okay, so you can see here this part of the propellant system, or you can say the launch vehicles the fuel system, the part of the launch vehicle will disconnect from here and it will form somewhere here at 6 km, and after at like around 4 km far from this, this particular crew module will make its landing. Okay, so we will make sure that there is enough distance between these two sites, so that there is no chance of any clash or impact. Okay, so this is how it will be done. This is just a graphics. Okay, so moving ahead, Central rollbacks is planned to license laptop PC imports. So now what we are doing is we are kind of giving this import management system. So this system right now is for the, you can say, electronic hardwares or computer hardwares, because we are importing it from outside and mainly we are importing it from China. So because of that there is a kind of security risk, or you can say the balance of trade, etc. All these issues are there. And when we are talking about electronic hardware, etc., there are inherent risk of privacy, etc. Okay. So because of that, India has decided to manage this import system. So we have come up with a plan. We will discuss that. Okay. The initial notification that proposes licensing of import of IT hardware has rung alarm bells in the industry. That because of the, when we are talking about, we are going to give you a license. Okay. So there are chances that you can impose a quota. Okay. So when there is a quota, there are kind of skepticism regarding this quota in the industry, because they will put a cap on the import. Okay. So in this regard, there was some kind of alarm bells in the industry, because they are thinking that they might put a cap on the imports. Okay. Other than that, there will be a strong hold of the bureaucracy when we are talking about license Raj. Okay. In the past we had that. So because of that experience, there was some concerns regarding this. But now when we are giving this proposed system now, they have not talked about any kind of quota yet. Okay. They are just giving license for the imports. Okay. And then complaint to the WTO by various countries. These various countries are those countries which are basically importing the IT hardware to India. So obviously when we are putting some kind of license or some kind of cap, because of that there would be that would impact their exports. Okay, that is why they are concerned about it, and they are talking about this free trade regime, etc. They are saying that you should not go for protectionism. Okay, so that is why they are going to the WTO. Okay, so that is one thing. Under the proposed system, the IT hardware companies will be required to register and disclose the data related to their import. So there is no talk about any license. Only one thing here is that you have to register for it, and then you will kind of disclose the data regarding their import. Okay, and the countries from which they have imported, and among other things, there are some other data they will be asking for, but they are not talking about any kind of quota here. Okay, so that is a good thing. And then if we are talking about the specifics of this particular program, or you can say system, so for now it is for the IT hardwares. The IT hardware companies will need to register and disclose import related data, including the source countries from where you are importing. The move aims to monitor and control IT hardware imports, particularly from China. As I told you that we are importing most of this IT hardware from China, and because of that we have this security concern, etc. Concerns had been raised by the countries like USA, China, South Korea and Taiwan, because most of the hardware is imported by these countries. You can remember the name of these countries. Okay, because India is also trying to be an electronics hub now. Okay, so if we are to perform good on that, we have to make domestic capacity for that, and that will impact the imports from these countries. Okay, at the World Trade Organization. Other than that, this system intended to be online and contactless. Okay, so it will be online, contactless. So because of that, there are chances that there is no contact between the industry and the bureaucracy. So that might resolve the issue of corruption, etc. Okay, so it is a simplified application process. The government cites security rather than the trade consideration. So now we are saying that when the countries are approaching WTO regarding this, we are saying that this is because of the security of the nation and not because of the trade related consideration. We are saying that we have this privacy related issues, or since they are sending us the hardware, we don't know what kind of technology they are using in that. So we have this security related concerns. Okay. Other than that, also there is this issue of dumping. Okay, China keeps doing that. They flood the market with the cheap imports, etc. So that is why we are quoting the security related concerns. Okay. So there are certain exemptions from this particular regime. A government related import, if government is importing something, okay, for the public good, that is fine, that is exempted. Then there are special economic zones, if it is imports are being done in the SEZs, it is fine. And then essential capital goods, if to build the capacity, if you are importing capital goods, that is also exempted. Imports under baggage, when you are traveling from one country to another and you are bringing certain things from there, that is not under this regime. And then certain individual purchases remain unrestricted. Okay, so these are the exemption to this particular scheme. And then we'll talk about this particular article which was in your editorial section. Okay, so in this article we'll be talking about the MSP hike which has happened yesterday. We have talked about it. So recently Center has announced MSPs for 6 Rabi crops. Okay, and in those Rabi crops there is the maximum increase in wheat. There is a hike in the MSP. As I told you in yesterday's class, MSP is the rate at which government will procure from the farmer directly. Okay, sometimes it is to incentivize to the farmer to grow certain type of crops. Okay, now when we are talking about this particular hike, this is the, you can say, highest spike in last few years, you can say. When we are comparing with the UPA's regime, in that time also there was a hike, but it was highest considering that. Okay, so the latest procurement prices has rise both political and economic dimensions. So in this particular you can say step which has taken by the central government, there are two dimensions, political as well as economic. When we are talking about the political dimension, you know that there are elections around the corner now. Okay, there are some assembly elections in 5 states in November and December, and then there are Lok Sabha elections in 2024. Considering that, and farmers are a huge vote bank, so they have done they have taken this particular step. So that is one thing, that is the political dimension. Okay, when we are talking about the economic dimension, okay, so we are saying that there is we have this certain normative, you can say, minimum amount of grains we have to have in our storage, that is 205 lakh ton. Okay, so that is one thing. And right now when we are considering the production as of now, or whatever we have in government warehouses, when we are talking about the stocks in the government warehouse, that is 239 lakh tons. Okay, so when we are talking about these two data, there is only a small gap. So government wants to procure more to be around this normative capacity of us. Okay, so we have to maintain this thing. So that is why government is considering it as a buffer. So that is one dimension of it. Other than that, when we are talking about from the prospectus of the new crops which is to be produced in the next Rabi season, so we are thinking that because of the less water level in the reservoirs, so there would be less water present for the irrigation. Okay, that is one consideration. Other than that, when we are talking about water availability, most of the India's agriculture is dependent on monsoon. Okay, and we know that this is an El Nino year, because of which there would be reduction in the rains. So considering all these phenomena, we are looking at production we are looking at to incentivize the production by hiking the MSPs. Okay, so when we are talking about the new crop, water level in the reservoirs are less, and El Nino and winter showers are important for Rabi crops, because that will provide you certain kind of moisture. Okay, so that will be important for the standing crops. Okay, that is why we are looking at all these phenomena when we are considering the new crop which is to be coming in Rabi season. Okay, so that is why we have given some kind of hike in the MSP, so that farmer is incentivized to produce. But when we are talking about wheat, and we have given the largest spike in the wheat, nearly 7% in the when we consider. So why wheat? Wheat is already incentivized. Actually, farmer prefer wheat, because if we consider the data, we almost half of the Rabi season or Rabi crop is under wheat cultivation. Okay, so wheat is already a preferred choice. So if we are providing more MSPs for that, that will not do any good. Okay, so that is another negative, you can say, that if we are giving more MSP for wheat, that is just an economic burden. Okay, then when we are talking about this data and the gap is there, to fill this gap, we can go for imports. And why to hike the MSP? Okay, because if you are hiking the MSP, it will put burden on the economic budget of the country. Okay, when we are talking about imports and considering this particular hike, the economic viability talks about that which we have to go for the one which cost us less. In this case, import will cost us less, because recently after this Ukraine war, etc., European Union and then Russia, these two countries has these actually European Union is a group of countries, and then Russia, these institution and the countries has actually reduced their wheat price. Okay, because of that there is cheap wheat available in the market, so you can source that from the imports, because of which you can spend less on the this thing, and you can fill this gap. So author is saying that when we are considering the economic dimension, so that is not actually talking about viable things to do. Okay, so that is why mostly it is political dimension considering the elections. So they are saying that it is not economic, but mostly it is about the political vote bank, etc. Okay, so that is all about this particular article. They are saying that there are the reasons, there are two dimensions. One is political, one is economic. In economic dimension, we have discussed all these things, and in conclusion, author has said that if we are going for the import, that would be more viable than the giving hike in the MSP. That will kind of increase the burden on the budget. Okay, so considering that, if we see in conclusion, there are chances that this is a political step. Okay, so this is the view of author in this particular article. Okay, so I guess that is all for this particular article. PM to flag RRTS, we have talked about it many times. Okay, I have taken this particular article because I wanted to tell you that we have named it as Namo Bharat. Okay, so you can remember this particular name. Okay, why we have come up with this particular project, we will talk about it. PM has inaugurated the first phase of Regional Rapid Transit System, RRTS. It is India's first mass rapid system. Okay, the speed of this particular project or the trains would be from 160 to 180 kmph. Okay, when we are talking about metros right now in Delhi, etc., so these metros are running at the rate of 100 to 120 kmph. Okay, so now it is clear that this will be faster than metros. When we are talking about the distance, it will cover some 100 kilometer of distance in 60 minutes. Okay, 100 kilometer in 60 minutes. So that is kind of very effective, or you can say time saving. For longer runs, it will be kind of effective. With the maximum speed, we have talked about it, will reduce the travel time between the Delhi and the Meerut to less than 1 hour. Okay, so that is the first phase in which it will be between Delhi and Meerut through Ghaziabad. Okay, it aims to improve balance and sustainable urban development in the national capital region. Okay, when we are talking about urban development here, so when such projects come up with that, so there will be some kind of, you can say, ribbon development. Okay, so that will increase job opportunity, it will increase the economic activities around the area, it will increase new economic hubs in the area. So that is the aim of this particular project. When we are talking about the venture, who is the stakeholder here, central government along with the governments of Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh is taking up this particular project. Okay, okay, now moving ahead. So it is designed for the faster travels over longer distances. Okay, that is effective method of traveling. Other than that, it offers higher frequency. When we are talking about metros, it is faster than metros. When we are talking about the current railway system, which we having, that is not very frequent, so it will offer higher frequency. Okay, promote public transport system. That is important in the area like Delhi, where if you have vehicular emission related problems, pollution related problems, promoting public transport will always be a good idea. Okay, relieve congestion boost employment, create commercial hubs across the NCR, which we have talked about. You can call it as a ribbon development. Okay. Then 8 corridors are proposed in this particular project in 3 phases. Okay, and first phase has started with this particular Delhi Meerut connectivity. The project is expected to enhance the economic activity, productivity and connectivity within the NCR. Okay, we are thinking that this project will be completed by 2025. Okay, that is an ambitious timeline, but okay, let's see. In economy, its economy in terminal, Dhaka seals pact with IMF on bailout. So when we are talking about this Bangladesh was growing fastest in recent time. Okay, its economy is nearly around 416 billion US dollar. Okay, so it was world's fastest growing for years, but now they are struggling with their economy and they are not able to perform good on their loans, etc. So now they have approached the IMF, and IMF has sanctioned some around 681 millions loan for that. I just wanted to tell you that Bangladesh is also going through some economic crisis. Okay, and if we look at the worldwide view, there is this slowdown because of the COVID. We haven't recovered properly yet. Okay, India is performing good because we are kind of growing at the rate of some 6.5 now. There are some data which are saying that we are kind of developing at the rate of 6.3 to 6.5. Okay. Then planning to join China's Belt and Road by Taliban. So recently you must have known that like 1.5 years ago, USA has left the Afghanistan, and now Afghanistan is controlled by a Taliban led government. Okay, so there is no other country which has made some kind of diplomatic relations yet or sent an ambassador to the country. Okay, so China is the first one. Okay, China is the first one to develop certain kind of diplomatic relations with the Taliban government. Okay, and it took the first step to send a Chinese ambassador to Kabul. Okay, so because of that, considering that now Taliban is considering China as a friend, and now they are open for the BRI road initiative. So when we are talking about BRI in this area, we know that there is this China Pakistan economic corridor. Okay, it will pass through Afghanistan, a little bit of Afghanistan as well. So now Taliban is open for the idea. Okay, India is not in favor of this because it is passing through our territory, which is illegally occupied by the Pakistan and China. So that is why we are not in favor of this project, and we are criticizing this particular step. Okay, so that is all about today's Indian Express newspaper. So let's wrap it up. We'll see you in the next session tomorrow or maybe on the Monday. So have a good day. Thank you. You can share the link with your fellow aspirants. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.